Hi, my name is Jenny. I am your heart healer. Welcome to the top 10 breakup, heartbreak, recovery things that you need to do to get through your heartbreak and to get you through this pain and get you through this situation. I am a relationship therapist, and I've been working with clients for over 20 years. And I also am a specialist in heartbreak recovery and helping people get to the next phases and to continue on dating. And I do that life coaching as well. So I formulated all this information and I wanted to share it with you today because there are so many people going through heartbreak and really feeling stuck and feeling in a place of pain, and like they can't get up, and maybe like they're being held under and just in a really, really dark place. So I want to share some things that will help you get through this, the top 10 kind of hit list, things that you need to focus on to help get you through this next portion, to get you through this step and help get you through your recovery and get your heart healing and get you through this. The number one thing that you need to do is stop blaming yourself. So if you're blaming yourself and you're really taking this into yourself and kind of, I did this wrong and I did this wrong and this was my fault and I should have done this. And if your thoughts are really, really spiraling and they are in a place of really blaming yourself for a lot of things going on, the feelings of that can feel very negative, very paralyzing, very like make you feel bad about yourself, make you feel like unhappy with yourself. This happens a lot when I'm talking with people. My clients will say like all the regrets that they have, and they'll kind of be really stuck in that place of regret. And I am definitely someone who wants people to improve, and I want people to get better, and I want them to be more empowered, and I want them to be the best version of themselves that they can be for themselves, their family and friends, and their relationships. So I really encourage people to grow and to find the best in themselves, but just putting themselves down and just really kind of blaming themselves 100% for the relationship is really sad to see, because there's just no way 100% of the relationship can be one person's fault. It does take two to tango. It does take two people in a relationship, and each person is responsible for their 50%. So a little bit of goal, something in yourself to say, okay, I can improve on this and I can improve on that. Some self-reflection is amazing, and that's always a value. A place of self-reflection is different than a place of blame, where you're really kind of coming at yourself really harshly and in a way that it would seem like you're like putting yourself down, or you're taking on too much of the responsibility. It's too much weight to carry through the relationship, and it's too much to carry through this heartbreak recovery process. So let's get rid of your portion of it. Let's help you heal by not taking all the blame. And where there are things to blame, there's always going to be some positives to this. So what is it that you did in the relationship that was positive, and what did you do to make it successful, and in what ways did you make it better? So I also encourage you to take that look. That's going to be a big part of this, is stopping the blame of yourself and stopping even really the blaming process in of itself, because sitting around focusing on blaming someone else, blaming that your ex-partner, blaming yourself, really is a mode that you're stuck in, and being stuck there is not going to get you through that. So focusing on the positive things that you did bring to the relationship, taking a quick look at how you can improve and working on that, I definitely recommend. So with that being said, the second thing, a lot of people come to me, and it really is hard to hear people say, what's wrong with me? So I have a lot of people that say, what's wrong with me, and why did this happen to me, and do I not deserve to be in a healthy relationship, and did this person not, see what I could offer, and does this person just, what's wrong with me? Am I unlovable? And that is so sad to hear, because I see the potential in everyone, and I see the beauty and the kindness and the strength and the power and what amazing gifts they have within themselves, and the amazing gifts they have to give to relationships. So if you are asking, what's wrong with me, that is really going to keep you stuck. So I'm trying to help you get through this heartbreak and get you through the top things to do in a breakup. And how you kind of do this is to stop looking at what's wrong with me. It's really a negative thing to do. And when people are doing that, oftentimes I find that they don't value themselves. So if you don't see your value, if you can't find your value, kind of the opposite of blaming taking this on and saying what's wrong with me and blaming yourself is seeing the value that you do have. So the value that you have is important, and it's very important for you to recognize what value it is that you do have in yourself, just as a person, just as an amazing person. And those are beautiful things that you can focus on instead of focusing on what's wrong with me. And just because someone isn't in a relationship with you doesn't mean that they didn't see your value or that there's something wrong with you. And it doesn't mean you're unlovable. Maybe they just had something else going on, but it's definitely not a reflection of you or your value. So please, please focus on what value it is that you do have. And I work with people really diligently to build up their value, because that's empowerment, that's strength, right? That's healing. And it is healing to hear the positive things about yourself. I offer more of this information. I have 6 free videos that are down below. You can click those, and those videos are going to just kind of give you some other tips and tools and things to kind of work through during your heartbreak recovery. And I offer them to people so that you can get a head start. You can get a jump on this. You can do something easy and just listen to some videos and watch. So put in your name and your email, and you'll get a video sent to you a day, and you could just watch it and let me know how they work. I'm wonderful. Would love to hear how they're working for you. They work for so many other people, and it really helps people get to the next step, which is what I'm hoping you could do with these steps and tools that I'm giving you. So the third tip that I have for you is, how are you coping? How are you coping? And having that self-reflection, having that self-awareness of how am I coping? Now, how you're coping is super, super important, because how you're coping, you could be coping, have positive coping skills, or you could have negative. And it all is going to depend on you, where you are in the process, and it's going to depend on how your past relationships, traumas, and experiences and have affected you. So they're all going to affect people differently, but you do need positive coping mechanisms, and you need them in order to successfully go through this. Now, there are going to be different coping mechanisms at all stages of the recovery process. They're going to be there. Whether or not you're with someone new yet already, it doesn't matter. You still have coping mechanisms to get rid of your old past hurt and feelings. And one of the first things I do when I'm dealing with a new client is I do try to understand what are their coping mechanisms, and I will ask some questions to try to help figure that out so that I can determine what is going to be the best mechanisms that they can use to build on that. Now, some people, they tend to, for example, go into almost like a paralysis. They get kind of frozen in where they are, and they get like, where am I? And they freeze. They can't move, and they feel like they can't breathe, and they feel like they're suffocating, and they just feel like they have no way out, and they feel like they're honestly being kind of pulled underwater and just held without any oxygen or breath. And that is a coping mechanism, and that is caused through trauma. And that is caused from someone not really knowing what the next steps are and not knowing what to do. So understanding your coping mechanism and your style and your pattern is very beneficial, because by knowing where you are, you can evaluate that and see how it's working out for you. And even if it isn't the best coping mechanism, maybe it's what was needed initially. And that's okay. But I love to give people new, healthy coping mechanisms that will help them get through this process and help with this heart healing, and help people use healthy, positive coping mechanisms. So that is the third thing that you need, is positive coping mechanisms to get through this, and know that everyone's going to do it differently, and everyone's going to do it differently at each phase. So I have a heartbreak recovery group, and I have so many people in the community that are at different places in their recovery, even though they're all still in the heartbreak process. You know, some it's a little fresher, and some they're making some strides in progress. But their coping mechanisms and reflecting them back to others in the group is so beneficial, because now people get to see how it worked, and they could give examples, and they could plan it out, and they could help people. So it's so amazing to see people utilizing these positive, healthy coping mechanisms to help them feel strength, to help them feel empowered, to help them feel like they're getting a grip on this heartbreak. I know that it's difficult. If you are heartbroken, it is no joke. It's really, really hard. We have deep connections with people, and it is really difficult to have that ripped out of your life. I mean, you feel like just a piece of you has been ripped apart, and it is, because when you're forming a relationship with somebody, you kind of intermingle and intertwined, and when that person isn't there, you've kind of grown like attachments to each other, like, and you break that apart, so the piece of you is gone. So I know it's difficult, and having good, healthy coping mechanisms is important. So you need to do that one. That's super important. Now, this is a big one as well, and I find it relatively difficult for people at times. I'm not saying you can't do it, but people going through the process of forgiveness. That's our fourth one, is forgiveness. And going through the process of forgiveness is going to help you go from sadness to a little happier, from darkness to a little light, from feeling stuck to a little liberated. This is going to make a pretty big dent in your heartbreak recovery. Now, forgiveness is not necessarily you begging someone to forgive you. That's not necessarily the way that this works at all. Forgiveness is a broader concept than that. Forgiveness is about forgiving yourself. Forgiveness is about you having grace and compassion for the choices that you made, and kind of looking at it like, I'm okay, I can let this go. If you've ever been in a situation, little example, maybe someone bumped into you and they're like, oh, pardon me. And you were like, oh, it's fine, no worries. You let it go. It just, you didn't carry that around with you. And so by doing that, maybe you don't realize it, but you saved yourself from a lot of carrying something that really didn't belong in your space. And you got to feel some relief from the situation, like, oh, I was startled, but now I feel relieved. Like it's no big deal. So finding forgiveness in yourself, with yourself, and having that compassion it's really an amazing, beautiful process. So forgive yourself, forgive the situation. If possible, you can forgive that person. And if you can't, that's okay. Forgiveness is also a step in part of the recovery that I work with people. Forgiveness is something we work on other things simultaneously, but I mean, it can take up to 6 weeks, because it's so complex, and it is so entangled in so many different areas of our life. So forgiveness is for you. And forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean you forgive somebody for everything that they've done to you. It doesn't mean that whatsoever, but it does mean that you can start healing and going through your recovery process, because you can forgive the situation, forgive yourself for being in that situation, and be where you are, and move into a more fruitful, happy, vibrant life that I feel is waiting for you. So forgiveness, you do need to go through this forgiveness. And if you are angry with yourself and holding this on yourself and feeling like, I deserve this, and feeling negativity about yourself, then that means you're not forgiving yourself. So it's a really huge part. And I help people through meditation and through different guided sequences and sessions to work on forgiveness, because it is such a big, big step in your healing process. So you do need to focus on forgiveness. And the next step that I recommend, which goes really closely with that, is self-love. So loving yourself, self-love. This is a little tricky for a lot of people. Honestly, a lot of people will say that they have difficulty loving themselves, and they feel unlovable, and they've been in a situation where maybe they didn't feel loved, and they kind of take that on as truth. If someone isn't showing love, then they feel like they're not lovable, and then it's really difficult for them to love themselves. So you Loving yourself is huge. There are people that can't even get anywhere near that topic. I mean, it's really, really hard. I have some detailed exercises that I do to help my clients get through this self-love process. And it's very beautiful to watch because they do come out feeling like almost like a flower blooming, in this beautiful garden, and they get to just be amazed at the beauty that they have to offer. And it will let go of some of this self punishment, and it will help lift you up. When you are loving yourself, I promise you're in the recovery process. And self love isn't arrogance, it's not selfish, it's not conceited. It isn't about, oh, I love myself, I'm the greatest person necessarily. I hope you are, but it's more about you taking the time and investment that maybe you put into someone else and putting it into yourself. So I do recommend self-love, and that is probably one of the biggest ones is self-love. So don't go past that. Don't overlook it. Don't underestimate how massive this is for you in your heartbreak and in your recovery process. Going from feelings of negative thoughts about yourself. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I act. I don't like the way I am this, the way that. I don't like this about myself is very different than feelings of self-love. You are going to feel the vibration, and it will shift you up the emotional scale in your healing from possibly, really deep, dark depression and anxiety and panic and stress and hopelessness into a place of hope and into a place of growth and into a place of like possibility and into something positive where it's like, okay, I'm going to allow positive things to come back into my life. When we are putting ourselves down and not having positive things about ourselves, we will attract more negativity, and we just won't let ourselves out of that space. So it's a huge key, it's a huge door opener. Self-love, and please, that is something that's really number one, even though it's in the fifth spot. So the next thing that I'm going to suggest for you out of these top 10 best breakup and heartbreak recovery things that you can do for yourself is get support. You do need a support system. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Everyone deserves a support system. Everyone deserves to have people around them, filling them with positivity, filling them with hope, filling them with support, understanding where they are. And you need this absolutely in your life, everybody. And this is available to you. I have a heartbreak recovery group right now with people supporting each other, listening to each other, understanding where people are, helping people go through where they're going, help people see their value, and helping people recognize some of these things like, oh, you're putting yourself down, or oh, you didn't forgive yourself, or you're blaming yourself. And it isn't a negative at all. It's just, hey, you asked me to bring this to your awareness, and I'm doing it, and this is what I used to do, and I see it, and helping people be supportive, like, okay, how did this go? And having people really, really be on your side as far as your heartbreak recovery. So get that. Know the difference between a positive support group and a negative support group. A negative support group is going to be something where you don't feel positive. Maybe you're being put down. Maybe you don't feel understood. Perhaps you are feeling like people aren't understanding exactly where you are, and they're pushing you to get through something too quickly, or they just don't have the patience, or maybe just people don't want to hear about this. They think you should be over this, and it doesn't matter if it's logically the best step for you right now. It doesn't mean that the heartbreak isn't hurtful. You could have made the right decision to be where you are, or the right decision could have been made for you, and you are where you are, and it could be the best thing for you, but it doesn't mean that you don't deserve positive, healthy support system to get you through this. That's what I offer in my coaching and in my sessions is I offer the support. I offer support to you where you are. I meet you where you are and figure that out and work with you where you can with your skills and tools. So this is available in my Heartbreak Recovery group. So please make sure to look into that. Also with that is accountability. This is kind of possibly the right in hand with self-love is accountability. Having the accountability in your life, it will bring you so much empowerment, and it will bring you so much growth, so much for your health, and so much for your state of well-being, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, having accountability. Because what you get is you get to be in charge of your life, and you get to be in charge of your decisions, and you get to be in charge of making sure that everything is working for you. And by being accountable with yourself, having people reflect accountability to you, both myself as well as in the group and with other support systems, what happens is this accountability is you're able to grow on steadier blocks, and you're able to move at a more stealthy path because you have people supporting that accountability. And learning to be accountable for yourself is huge. This is important. Everyone does it all the time. If this is in relationships with friends, if this is in daily to-do lists, if this is in career, we have things that we need to be accountable for, and you are accountable for your happiness, and you're accountable for your heart healing. So having accountability in your life is so important, and I want you to have that. That's definitely something that I offer. I do get a couple of people wanting like emergency sessions because they're at such a place that they really need like a strong, like now they need like a little charge, they need like a kick. So I do offer these emergency sessions as well if necessary, but get the accountability, get the support system, get that in your life right away. Next, the next important thing that you're going to need in part of your heartbreak recovery are goals. And goals are very important in your heartbreak recovery. And having the goal to heal and knowing that that's your goal is so powerful, because when you know your goal, then you can figure out how to get there. You can have the accountability to get there. You can have the support to get there. You can know what it is that you need to do to attain that goal. So knowing your goal is very important. Just being here and stuck and sad and depressed and lonely is hard, but doing that without any goals is really what is can push you to kind of a little bit of a shift in focus. Imagine if you are just getting an automobile and you just start going somewhere and you don't have a goal. It would be kind of weird. The goal may even be to listen to music while you're driving around, but that's still a goal. So you need goals. This is important. A goal may be to get back with your ex. A goal may be just to feel a little bit better. A goal may be to get through your heartbreak recovery. A goal may be to get healthy and vibrant and alive and completely healed, where you don't even think about this person and you are so in love with your life that you're free. You're just free to be happy. Another goal could be to be in a relationship. You want a new relationship. That's a great goal. So you want to get through all of this recovery, and you want to go through all these stages, and you want to get through this, that you can be into a new relationship. And you do want to get into a new relationship with healthy goals, and with self-love, and with knowing your value, and with seeing the positives that you bring into a relationship, and with positive coping mechanisms. You want to get into a relationship in that way so you don't bring all of this around. So having a healthy relationship goal is even better, because this one will get you to where you need to be, but you do need to know what it is that you're looking for. Just a relationship, if that's your goal, that's your goal. But just any old relationship, the very next person that walks by is maybe a goal, and that's not terrible, but is that really what your heart desires? So you do need goals. I recommend positive goals, and recommending using this accountability and using this support system to get there. So you could even identify what your goals are. Very, very, very important. When you were in a relationship, you had goals with that person. So now those are removed. So kind of your future timeline of goals has been wiped away. So setting new goals, setting goals for yourself, setting goals for future relationships, if that's something you're intending, is super important. So you need to get those goals. Get those right away. And the next thing are needs. You do need to understand your needs. What are your needs? And it's so important, because your needs tell you about yourself. They tell you what it is that's important to you. And there are healthy needs and there are unhealthy needs. And so an unhealthy need may be that you are in a cycle with somebody where it's a lot of the times negative, and then you get something positive and it really lifts you up and it gives you hope and excitement, and makes your whole day to get one little positive thing out of somebody. That is actually possibly a negative goal, because it could look like breadcrumbing, where you're not getting your needs met, and then all of a sudden you get one little snippet, and it feels so good. But this is almost like gambling. It's almost like the addiction of, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just sitting around putting money in a machine, and I could, like, maybe win, and then I win a little. Is that like addiction? It's really a very hard need to have, is to get that little breadcrumb. That's really not the healthiest need. A healthy need would maybe be, you would like good communication, you want unconditional love. Knowing that that's what you need, and knowing that you need to get that need fulfilled, is going to be very, very important in your recovery process. Because if you had other needs in your relationship and it didn't work out, because you were getting these little tiny crumbs, or you were getting something else going on, or maybe you weren't getting it all, and that created you to be like negative towards them because you weren't getting your needs. Understanding your needs is going to be very important, so that you can, in future relationships, you can work on fulfilling those needs and know how to get them in a healthy way. So if it is something that you're looking for to get through this, you need to understand your needs, and you need to know where you are in those needs. So maybe your need is to, right now, to not feel lonely, to not feel alone, to not feel like you're drowning. If that's your need, that's your need. This isn't a right or wrong, it's where you are, and getting that need fulfilled. Getting all your needs fulfilled in 1 second isn't necessarily always tangible, but figuring it out, what are the most important needs that you have, so you can set goals and you can kind of get there and get the help that you need through this process. So I do want to say that I love doing these and I love helping people. I'll probably do like another 10 something, because I have so many good little tools and tips, and I want you to have so many tools, that your tool shed is filled with how to cope and how to grow, and how to be the best version of yourself. This is my raison d'etre. This is why I am here. I'm here to help people have healthy relationships with themselves, help them have wonderful, beautiful relationships with other people, and how to recover through heartbreak and get to the other side and get through this process. This is why I'm here. And I know that each and every one of you has positive gifts and positive things that you can bring as well to the planet to help people. And I want to help you bring those out, and I want to help you live your best, so that you really feel like you're living your life and you know where you are and you're doing it out of choice. So please take advantage of this. Get those free 6 videos, get them sent to your email, get started further along in your heartbreak recovery. Now, the last thing that I'm going to give you, the last tip that I think is super, super huge and super important in your recovery, is how are you responding? So I talk about this a lot with my clients. How are you responding to this situation? How are you responding to your ex? How are you responding to situations that trigger you? And it is so important, because how you're reacting, if you're reacting in a negative way, if you're triggered by something and you're reacting in a negative way that leaves you feeling more hurt, more lonely, more sad, disappointed, if you're doing that and you're reacting, then that is how you're responding to the situation. I love moving people into a space of choice, and they get to choose how to respond based on logic and heartfelt intelligence, and based on who they want to be. So that if you are reacting, it most likely you're not in charge. I love giving people the power to be in choice and choosing how they're going to respond, choosing how they're going to be, and even energetically setting yourself up for success. That even if you don't do something on the outside, on the inside, how you're responding, we can set that up to where you can get to a place where you're responding in a way that you can be like, I responded the way that I chose. That was my goal, that was my intention, and I got myself there. Because responding is going to bring you much better results in your heartbreak recovery than just reacting. If you are stuck in a reacting cycle and you're just really, really down and you're really, really hurt and you just can't get up and you don't have goals and you don't have support and you're not accountable for yourself or your feelings or your emotions, if you don't love yourself, if you aren't getting your needs met, if you are not having and utilizing healthy coping mechanisms, if you're blaming yourself, if you're still sitting around questioning what's wrong with me, you're going to be triggered to react in a way that is not in your best interest, and it's not going to get you where you want to go. So this is what I got for you today. That was the top 10, and I hope that they're helpful. Please share, like, subscribe, comment. I would love to know how you're doing in your recovery process. I would love to know if any of these tips helped, if you've tried them, or if you have questions. I'm told I'm a fast talker, so if I was talking too fast, I could try to explain it for you in a different way and maybe slow down. If that's the case, even that's a comment, let me know. Sign up for these videos, do it now. I look forward to hearing how you're doing in your heartbreak recovery. I wish you so much love, so much peace, so much joy. I want to get you to this place where you can thrive and be yourself again and just be happy. So many, many blessings. Thank you so much. Bye bye.